Hi everybody, you're tuned into My Dad Says Audio. If you've been here before, welcome back, and if you're new here, welcome. Today we'll be taking a closer look at my Marantz CD273 and the modification that my father has done to the power supply for the Philips TDA1541 DAC. Dad, what can you tell us about the player and the mods you've done?
Okay, we've just spent the morning having a listen to a few CDs with the modified Marantz player here. I deliberately just done the one modification, which is to fit dedicated minus 15 volt DC power supply to run the TDA1541 chip. Yeah, which I've asserted makes a huge difference. We've both been having a bit of a listen, and we're both actually really quite impressed with how it's scrubbed up. It's quite clearly a leg up in terms of performance. The bass is definitely more substantial, not just fatter, just more substantial and palpable and believable, and a hell of a lot closer to what I'd expect from one of my better vinyl systems. And we thought we'd let you see our plans for this, because I have yet another mod going forward that I can do. My son's going to take this home today, but we thought you'd like to see what we've done. What did you think of how it sounded?
I was very, yeah. Well, we plugged it into the big system, which consists of, I think, the Marantz preamp, into the Yaquin KT88 push-pull amp, into the open baffles. And yeah, I put on Prodigy. My dad knows I'm a Prodigy fan, and it's good to reference because I'm very familiar with the tracks. It was some of the best I'd heard, and we both said with the DAC power supply modification, it's much closer to what you'd expect to hear from good vinyl.
Yeah. We're both, to be fair, we're both vinyl aficionados, but this takes it close enough where you're starting to question whether putting a record of the same recording on would get you that much more. It's definitely stepping it in that direction. Before, I would have said it's about 95% of good vinyl replay. Now I'd say it's stepped up to like 98%. There's more body to the sound. The bass is substantially better, is what I think myself. And it's definitely a leg up, to the point where you're only getting, in my opinion, and I am a vinyl aficionado, is you really aren't that much off a good vinyl replay system.
No.
This as a source.
Well, I've heard we played Fat of the Land by Prodigy, a few tracks of that. I own it on CD and I own it on vinyl, and I've got, not to toot my own horn, but I've got some decent turntables, and yeah, it's getting pretty close to as good as what you might hear from with a good turntable,
with a well optimized
with good
turntable setup,
with good
vinyl setup,
good phono stage, everything, etc. Yeah, it's like you wouldn't be too fast if someone said this is your lot. You'd be like, oh well, that's pretty darn good. And it's made a huge difference. As my dad said, the bass is a lot more substantial and a lot more full. But one thing I noticed, not only that, it comes from a blacker background, so it even seems even more dynamic.
Yes.
It's coming from, a deeper black silence to a kind of a big bass note, and then decays more.
Yeah. Anyway, I've told my son I'm prepared to do yet another modification to it. If you have a look here, that there is a 15 volt regulator, and that one there is a 15 volt regulator. Okay, that's what actually powers the 2 op amps on the output stage. And what I'm going to do, because one op amp, both op amps share the same voltage regulators. What I'm going to do is fit another 2 voltage regulators. You can see here, they're 7.8 and 7.9 fixed voltage regs, the same as the ones here. So we'll have 4 voltage regulators. Each chip, each of the op amps will therefore have its own voltage regulators rather than sharing them. And what the arrangement usually is, I've got an example of this sort of setup here, is if you look at, say, this one, that's one dual op amp. It has safety resistors here, which give you an into the actual op amps themselves. What I'll do is very similar to what I've done with the minus 15 volt supply I've done there, where I have removed the safety resistor. I think there was a 10 ohm safety resistor in series with the power supply for that. What I'll be doing is the same here. I have decoupling caps for both the input and the output of these voltage regs. And as the same as I've mounted here using these standoffs, I have these standoffs, and I'll be mounting, mounting this board with the voltage regs on that. So it's sort of a nice way of doing the output stage. I'm expecting maybe not as big a difference as with this, but I would expect that the sound stage will actually widen slightly, the perceived sound stage.
Right.
And it'll be less confused because you've got less modulation of the power supply left to right. You know, whatever's happening on the left can affect the one on the right channel, the opposite channel. And just the mere fact that I'm doing that, I think I'm going to get away with not using any RC filtering using the safety resistors, which can be anything up to 33 ohm. So one could expect it to sound a little bit more dynamic yet again, will be a reasonable thing to expect.
Cool.
Okay, so that's the next project.
Yeah.
My son's going to take it home and live with it for a while. Oh, the other thing we'll do is we'll change the output coupling caps. Some people use a plastic cap, which I think is more than acceptable. With this, because I don't actually have the schematic, I've sort of got to chase backwards to work out what goes where. And you need to change the output load resistor. And because on this particular board they're all surface mount, and I don't have the actual service manual / schematic, I'll be just changing the electrolytics. What's in there's not rubbish at the moment. And as far as the output caps go, they're already bypassed with Weimer film and foil, so it sounds pretty good anyway. But anyway, so there'll be the upgrade of the output caps plus another 2 voltage regs.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
Very nice.
that's the plan going forward. We just thought we'd let you know how sonically this has turned out, which is actually quite a success story.
Yeah, and I'm super impressed. I think it's going to murder. I'm using an Oppo BDP 83 universal player at the moment, which doesn't sound bad, but this kind of murders it just in pretty much almost every respect, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a bigger, more believable, better
weight,
bass, scale. Transparency.
The bass, like if you've got a drum and bass guitar, the separation is better. The bass is pitched better. You know, if you hear the difference between one note and another is more more defined, if you like.
Definitely, yeah. And it's still running in.
Yes, well, that's the other thing. Electrolytic caps do take a while for the foil to finally form. The final part of any electrolytic cap forming is in the first few hours of use. You know, it's 12 to 20 hours, something like that. And that's a fact. That's not some sort of fiction. Now, what some people will dispute, not that the foils do the final forming in actual use, is that you can hear it. Well, I think you can hear it, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know, experience playing around with stuff, you do hear it.
Yeah.
Anyway, we thought we'd just show you that. So it's a bit of a pocket rocket. It's a bit like putting a V8 in a Mini.
Yeah, and for context,
it sounds way better than the looks would and feel and everything would indicate.
Yeah, I was very unkind and called it a little plastic POS. So, which I got it as part of a MIDI system.
Yeah.
And everything pretty much died except this was dead when my dad got it. It wasn't working. Nothing worked. He resurrected it and upgraded it. So
yeah, with the mods I'm doing as well. Yes, it involves a bit of my time mucking around with it.
Yeah,
but I'm trying to keep the cost well down, that we're not throwing a huge amount of money into.
Yeah, I mean, the
other thing is you could fit. You know, let's say this dies finally, you could fit this power supply to another TDA machine.
Yeah. And for context...
It's not totally a waste of time.
Yeah, for context, I paid $10 for this because I just knew it would have the TDA DAC in it. So I went, straight away, you know, it's got potential. So my dad's realised quite a bit of the potential, to be honest. I think, it's sounding excellent.
Yes, as one of my mates likes to say, it's singing.
Singing. Yeah. Or anything else you wanted to add?
Not really. It's just amusing that it sits quite comfortably in my big system, and you don't sit there going, this is a bit of budget gear.
Yeah.
So take it for whatever. The only thing I might mention is that this is a TDA1541, the non-A version. But what I've done is all quite applicable to the A version as well.
Right.
So, and I guess the other thing I should say is I'm not actually making this as a how to do it, because I am just a hobbyist, therefore not really qualified. If you don't know how to do this sort of thing while remaining safe, I'm suggesting you don't do it. Find someone who can.
Cool.
Anyway, I think that's about it for now.
All right, no worries. Well, that's it for today. Thanks for watching, everyone. If this is your kind of video and content, please consider liking, commenting, subscribing, and sharing. All right, until next time, everyone have a good one. Bye.